You're about to become part of the deadliest of all car accidents, a highway pileup. Once before, we told you that science has discovered some very specific things you can do to survive. Tonight, ABC Science editor Michael Gillen repeats this life-saving information. The biggest problem may not be on the road, but in your brain.
Imagine this. You're about to crash into the car in front of you. That's bad enough, but the nightmare is just beginning. Because this is a pileup. And now it's your turn to take a hit. The question is, what do you do? What can you do to avoid something like this? Car pileups are the automotive equivalent of a nuclear chain reaction. The aftermath looking like a bomb has just hit the highway. In a matter of seconds, this pileup in Arizona destroyed 8 cars, killing 8 people. And this one in Virginia demolished 65 cars, injuring 40 people. How can so much damage happen so fast? Well, usually it's the weather, as you're about to see in this footage from Great Britain. Watch as the red car suddenly swerves out of control on the rain-slicked road. The surrounding cars all stomp on their brakes, but look towards the right of your screen. A white truck can't stop in time and plows into the cars ahead, setting off a 7-car chain reaction. Very often, fog is the culprit, like in Sacramento, California last winter. A fog bank suddenly engulfed Interstate 5 and triggered a pileup that demolished 47 vehicles. Peg Ballard will never forget it.
I hit that stuff, and it was just like somebody reached over the back seat and put their hand over your eyes. It's horrible.
You just couldn't see it?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's terrifying. Because the first thing you want to do is stop, and you know you can't. You want to pull off, and you don't know where to go because you can't see anything.
As Ballard plunged through the fog, she suddenly saw the ghost-like form of a tractor-trailer on its side.
When I slammed into him, I just said, I'm dead. That was it. I couldn't believe it when I opened my eyes. And, of course, my feet were up on the dashboard.
Worse yet, another semi, like this one, was heading right for her.
I'm just so lucky that that thing didn't slam into me and just make I wouldn't be here.
5 people were killed in that pileup, partly because many drivers didn't slow down when they hit the fog. And some of them, and I know this sounds crazy, but some of the drivers actually sped up.
We were like driving about 55, 60, and people were driving by us about 80 miles an hour, 85, like it was like there was no fog.
You've heard that a pileup like this is often caused by people who drive too fast when they can't even see in front of them. Why do they take such risks? Well, we used to think that it was just poor judgment. But now, brain research is offering another possible answer, having to do with a little-known but fascinating optical illusion. It was recently discovered in Britain, where pileups and fog are so much a part of the landscape, they're studied as a science.
Car pileups are a problem wherever they occur.
At the forefront of that study is Professor Bob Snowden, with his discovery of why people drive so fast in fog. So is it that people are being a little bit careless?
Well, what our research is beginning to show is that perhaps it isn't just carelessness or stupidity. It might actually be a product of the way our brains work.
He's traced the problem to the back of our brains, to this pea-sized group of brain cells. Turns out the cells have 2 separate jobs. One is to judge contrast. The cells fire quickly on clear days, slowly on foggy days. Their second job is to judge speed. They fire quickly when you move quickly, slowly when you move slowly.
You notice now that the scene's fairly foggy.
Problem is, Snowden discovered, the brain sometimes gets those 2 jobs mixed up, as you're about to see.
Next one is 70.
In this experiment, people start out driving on a clear day. Without a speedometer, they have to guess when they get to 70 miles an hour. Most get it right.
That feels like 70 to you in the sunny condition. Correct.
But when they have to guess their speed in fog, look out. Remember now, on foggy days, those special brain cells fire slowly. But the brain gets confused and thinks the slow firing also means you're moving slowly.
Does that feel faster or slower than before?
Slower.
Thinking that you're driving too slow, you naturally, disastrously speed up.
But would you be surprised to hear that when we put you in dense fog and asked you to 70, you actually drove at 94 miles an hour then?
Oops.
Okay, and this is my steering. What about you at home? Try taking the test with me. Now, first off, on a clear day, here's what 70 miles an hour looks like.
Oh, I see.
Okay, in the fog.
This is really foggy.
Now, in the fog, make your car go 70 miles an hour. So what do you think? This is much slower than 70 miles an hour, right? Don't you think we need to go faster?
It's going awfully slow, I gotta tell you.
We're going slow.
Yeah,
Okay,
right
shall
about
we
there.
see how fast that was actually going?
Yeah.
When Snowden analyzes the result, amazingly, he finds that at the end, we were going 98 miles an hour.
I was going 98 at the end?
Yeah.
That felt so slow. So what's caused me to be so wrong?
Well, it's your brain cells.
One obvious solution would be for people to watch their speedometers. Problem is, driving in a fog is precisely when people are most afraid to take their eyes off the road.
Just another hit.
Speed is not the only danger, says Rusty Haight. He analyzes auto accidents for a living and says that pileups are deadly at any speed for one simple reason.
As the cars start piling up and they rotate in the road, pretty soon you get them to where instead of in line with the lane markers, you have them sitting broadside to the next car.
And if you're standing broadside like that as a result of your collision, the next car is going to hit you from the side.
Absolutely.
They can't be pretty.
Oh, no, it can get real ugly.
To demonstrate the danger, we asked Haight to create and analyze a full-scale, real-life pileup. As Haight speeds up, he approaches a disabled vehicle on the road ahead. He puts on his brakes, but can't stop in time. After each collision, sure enough, the cars spin around, many of them ending up broadside to the road. Cars are mostly designed to take hits from the front and rear. So when they're spun around like this, the unprotected passenger side is completely vulnerable to incoming traffic. That means a baby in the back seat, which is where we tell parents it ought to be, is a helpless bullseye for the next oncoming vehicle. To make matters worse, tractor trailers and SUVs have gotten bigger in the last few years. And look what's coming down the road now. The best strategy by far is to avoid a car pileup in the first place. How? By doing exactly the opposite of what these cars are doing. How many of these cars here would be involved in a car pileup if suddenly there was like a fog bank or something?
They all will be.
So this is a car pileup waiting to happen.
Waiting to happen. Well, if you look at the green van...
Jerry Eubanks is an accident investigator and former traffic cop.
Yeah. All 6 of those would be in an accident. Yeah, they're way too close.
These days, Eubanks says, drivers just don't leave themselves enough room to stop in an emergency or to swerve out of the way should there be an accident in front of them. And yet, this is the normal distance you see people driving these days.
Yes, and that's why we have so many accidents on freeways where cars, numbers of cars, 30, 50, even up to 100 cars get in the pileup when they don't have good vision and they're following too close.
So what is the safe distance you should stay behind somebody?
You need to be back over 3 seconds from the car in front of you.
The 3-second rule? If you took driving tests years ago, you may not have heard of it. It's relatively new, so pay attention. It could save your life. How do I judge whether I'm 3 seconds behind another car or not?
All right, watch the bridge.
Okay.
The car in front of me is going to go into the shadow, and then you count.
Okay. Ready?
1001, 1002, 1003.
We reach the shadow 3 seconds later.
That's a
We'll try it again. This time, you count along with us. Start as soon as that red car in front of us reaches some obvious landmark, like the bridge.
She's going under the bridge. 1001, 1002, 1003.
What's so magical about 3 seconds? Well, that's the time it takes an average driver to react to a sudden accident or fog bank or bad weather up ahead.
Okay. I'm right now in a 3-second position at 60 miles an hour behind that green car.
Yeah,
the green truck.
But Jerry, I mean, that's pretty far away. You're going to have cars filling that in if you have a lot of traffic.
That's right. I tend to back off the gas, let them move out in front of me. And if I can't do that, then I'll change lanes. I'd rather be a little bit later to where I'm getting than in an accident.
As for Peg Ballard, she still marvels that she survived that gruesome pileup and will always be haunted by its foggy images.
Do you think back on it?
Excuse me. Right afterwards, it was real bad. I couldn't sleep. Because every time I closed my eyes, I'd see that miserable semi.
In the last 20 years, there have been about 400 bad pileups on the nation's highways. 1,500 people have died. The vast majority of these accidents happened in the fog. So don't let your eyes deceive you. Slow down.